Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Profit Talk. As you might imagine, we do this every single week. We do this Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time, be that standard or daylight. We shift with the calendar. Um, that is 7:30 if you're in Los Angeles, 10:30 if you're in Florida or New York. So good morning and welcome. This week's topic is 1099 NEC compliance for private practice physicians. And as quite often is the case, even if you're not a doctor, there may be some useful information for you here. Yeah, we're just going to have a real quick chat about what to do, why you have to do it, and the action that you should be taking because it is, as we speak, January 21st, and the deadline for your vendors to get a 1099 is 10 days away. So it's time to act. Let me go ahead and we'll get some helps up here. I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm trying to make this happen. Okay, very good. So there's your topic, 1099 NEC, and that just stands for uh, what does that stand for? A non-employed contractor, I believe. No, not non-employee compensation. I beg your pardon. Non-employee compensation, NEC. That used to be the dash MISC, and that's still in use. By the way, let me mention that too, is if you happen to be a physician that owns the property that you're practicing in, and you are leasing it to your practice, then you actually have to issue your practice a 1099-MISC as well. So keep that in mind. That does have to be done. So why the IRS cares about your paperwork? It's not just bureaucratic busy work, though it feels like it. But the thing is, it legitimizes the expense on your books. If you have a number of people for whom you pay, but they don't have information um, on those payments for anybody that makes $600 or more in 2025, then basically they can disallow your deduction and it can cost you penalties and interest. So that's really the big thing. And it's also very important to keep in mind, do you want to legitimize this expense? I've had this happen in the past. I've had smaller businesses that contract, shall I say, non-citizen help, and uh, they balk at the idea of doing 1099s because the guys that are working for them won't accept them. But the thing is, if you don't do it, then you really can't write the expense off. Um, or what happens is they'll attempt to write the expense off and not follow the advice of their accountant. But if you're audited, you're in a whole world of hurt. So that is basically the why. Okay, so let's move on to uh, a, an important point here. And I see this quite a bit with the practices that I do business with. Um, Many medical practices, regardless of specialty, will have some people who are under contract and receive a 1099 and others who choose to be employed. And it's just kind of depending on the level of commitment, but also an employee is defined as someone that works for you who you closely supervise and for whom you track time. So if you're paying a contractor, but they follow those requirements, you are actually required to pay their FICA tax, half of their FICA tax for them. That's Social Security and Medicare, and categorize them as an employee. So contractors are a completely different set of workers. And again, if you're closely supervising the worker and also tracking their time, they're an employee and you shouldn't be paying them as a contractor. So, um, what I see quite a bit, and the point I'm working up to here is that I'll see clinical contractors that are listed um, in a physician practice's payroll, and they're basically being issued payments through the payroll server and 1099s at the end of the year, but they miss other vendors, and people need to come in and do work for you sometimes. I'm thinking of things like IT or it says here HVAC, let's say plumbing even. If you're going to have somebody that comes in, does work, and they are not working for a corporation and that you pay them at least $600 in 2025, yes, they need a 1099 as well. They may not be on your payroll server, so you've got to figure out another way to get that to them. Okay. So I can share with you a little bit more about how to do that. So um, the fix takes very little time, honestly. Identify the vendors that you paid $600 or more to. And you may be thinking to yourself, hey, I just heard that the 1099 requirement's going up to $2,000. That's true, but that's effective January 1st, 2026. For the year just elapsed, which is the year 2025 that we're writing 1099s for right now, it's still $600. It's the last year. $2,000 is a lot more reasonable. Also, I hear tell that they're actually going to be inflation adjusting that year after year, way, way overdue. That's one small thing I do like about the new tax code. Um, but in any event, it's still $600 until we get these done on or before January 31st. You've got to get a W-9 from people because you have to have you need to know their entity status, and you need to know a TIN is basically a tax ID number. So it's either a social security number or an employee identification number, SSN or EIN. Either one of those falls into the Venn diagram definition of a TIN, and you have to have one, or you can't issue a 1099. You get that by getting a W-9 out to the person whom you need to pay. And this part is important. I've got this in smaller print, but it should be bold. You should have required the W-9 before you made a first payment to the vendor. Let me say that again. Before you make a payment to a vendor, you should be requiring a W-9, period. A lot of people don't, and it's not really, it's illegal, but at the same time, it's a law that's very easy to break. But the whole point is that if you do this, then you basically keep a room cleaned up in your mind, and you know that you have W-9 information and are going to be able to comply with this reporting requirement every year easily. So, um, we basically require this of all of the clients that we have. You need to get W-9s from the vendors that you're paying, and you have a right to ask them for it before you give them a single dollar. And if they push back, say, nope, it's right here in the IRS code. Let me give you my accountant's number, or send them to me. I'll talk to them. Happy to do it. So once you have that W-9, you have the information that you need to create a 1099. But this double duty part here, it tells you their entity type, and this is super important because if your vendor is taxed as a corporation, either a C corp, which is like what the big major corporations are, Walmart, Target, etc., or an S corporation, which is actually over 90% of all S corporations are solo owned. They do that for tax reasons. You may be doing that for tax reasons yourself. As a physician owner of your practice, in fact, if you're making $100,000 or more net income, you should be an S corp. If you're not, let's talk. So, super important. Okay. Now, what to do about this? Because I mentioned I would share with you a little bit. Uh, First, you can reach out to me. This is basically a specialty of our practice, and we're very happy to help. We can get your 1099s out for you, but if you want to sit down and have an easy solution, let's say you've already got a bookkeeper and your bookkeeping software creates 1099s, this is something that you can certainly do on your own. So you've got to have W-9s. And then you sit down and you get the 1099s out and make sure that they are either A, going to receive it by postal mail on or before the 31st of January, or B, have a way to securely provide them a digital copy of their 1099. That generally takes an email address. And if you've got the proper e-filer, they should be able to provide you with a secure method to provide the 1099 to your contractor. So that's it. It's got to be done by January 31st. If you do need help, please do let us know because we're here to help with any of your tax needs, including this one. So we're getting all ours out this week, and that's why the subject came up. I just want to be able to talk about it for a couple minutes and help with any questions that you might have. If you do have questions, we're coming to you one of three different media here, LinkedIn and YouTube, as well as Facebook, and they all three have a comments capability in common. So what that means is you can write help or more information or call me. Um, in the comments section, even in YouTube. I know they have it too. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and a like if you would. We'd appreciate it. We're trying to grow that side of the business. So, in any event, reach out because the first conversation with me personally is always free. And let's talk about how we can save you thousands, probably tens of thousands of dollars every year on your taxes. So, until next week, have an amazing day and the rest of your week, an awesome weekend. We hope you're staying warm and dry in this coldest part of the year. And if you have a chance today, do something randomly kind for a stranger. So until next week, so long, and we will see you next Wednesday at 8:30.